Pylons. Despite local opposition, hundreds of miles of overhead pylons and cables are expected to be fast-tracked in a bid to meet Britain's net zero targets. Of course, ministers are concerned the growing demand for energy could outpace the national grid capacity as households switch to electric cars and heat pumps. I think we all saw this coming. Now, the news comes, of course, as outgoing Minister Zac Goldsmith attacked Rishi Sunak. He accused him of being uninterested in the environment. So joining me now to discuss all of this is Head of Policy at Net Zero Watch, Harry Wilkinson. We've also got Senior Meteorologist at British Weather Services, Jim Dale, and also the Director of the Climate Media Coalition, Donnachadh McCarthy. Thank you very much indeed, all of you, for joining me. Should we start with Net Zero Watch? Harry, what do you think of these pylons? Is net zero now an eyesore as well as being terribly expensive? Is that fair to say?
I think so. This is an inevitable feature of net zero. We're moving towards far less energy dense sources. When it comes to wind turbines, they need to be spread out over a large area. You need thousands of installations to provide the same amount of energy that one power plant, whether that was gas or nuclear, would have provided beforehand. So that means a huge amount of new infrastructure. We also need to expand massively the amount of electricity we're actually producing. If we're going to get all the heating demand moved from gas boilers to heat pumps, we'll need that much more electricity. All the electric vehicles will need electricity as well. So this is an enormous challenge. And I think National Grid is just reflecting that by saying, unless you can actually force through these pylons through the planning system, they won't get built in time.
Donnachadh, is Harry being a little bit defeatist there? If we want to move to a greener and cleaner planet, we're going to have to put up with the electricity and using more electricity from renewable sources, which means we need more pylons.
The first point you made there is that net zero is more expensive. It's not. Renewable energy is significantly cheaper than fossil fuels. This winter, we've had to pour tens of billions, £67 billion into subsidising fossil fuels at enormous cost to the British taxpayer. Secondly, you mentioned in your introduction the issue about Rishi Sunak. Rishi Sunak and condemnation by Zac Goldsmith was absolutely bang on the button, except I would go farther and say Rishi Sunak is not only not interested in tackling climate change, he's actually turbocharging fossil fuel destruction. He is pouring billions of tax cuts into North Sea oil, and he's taxing renewables. He has cut the money invested for people's home energy efficiency, leaving 9 million people in fuel poverty this winter as fossil fuel prices soared, and he's continuing the ban on onshore winds. This is a government in crisis because Rishi Sunak at the top of it is absolutely symbolic of the billionaire class destroying our planet.
Well, strong stuff. Jim, I'll bring you in. Is it true to say that renewables are cheaper than fossil fuels? Take away the politics of it, take away climate change. Is that true as a fact, as it stands in the UK right now?
Well, look, renewables is all about an evolution, not a revolution. We've been talking about renewables and incorporating them. I say we've been incorporating them. I just agree entirely with your last guest in terms of what he actually said. In Britain, we've gone on a snail's pace, in fact, going backwards and organising licences for new coal and oil licences in drilling around. So as far as this government is concerned, we have been going backwards. And let's make this clear. The reason Zac Goldsmith did what he did within the letter, a 2-page letter, and it appeared to me to be very angry at this government, is for exact those reasons. They talk a good story, but they actually go nowhere fast. And we're waiting in this country. In fact, getting behind other countries such as China and other countries as far as the green revolution is concerned. We've got to speed these things up. We've got to invest. I'll just quote this to you. Deloitte, who are the financial risk consultants, we probably all know about them. They're not run-of-the-mill or anything. They calculate that if we don't have a transition to net zero, it's going to cost the world $178 trillion over the next 50 years. And on the other side of the coin, if we do, and as I say, it's by evolution, not revolution, then the plus side of that is plus 4 trillion. So to me, this is common sense. And I think that's what we're trying to get across to viewers.
Harry, do you recognise that $178 trillion figure there? It sounds very impressive, sounds a very large number indeed. What do you say to that?
Well, people will have their different calculations, but I just have to come back against what some of the other guests were saying. Zach Goldsmith is one of the planets. The fact is that net zero is a huge element of what this government is doing. Britain has reduced its emissions by about 50% since 1990. We've gone further than most countries. We've seen wages stagnate for the last decade or more. Britain is failing economically. We've got to turbocharge the economy, and we're not going to do that if we say no to new oil and gas, as people like Zach Goldsmith and the other guests have been saying. If we do that, prices will be higher. We've seen an energy crisis. People have been paying far too much for their energy bills, and people are saying we should turn off new North Sea oil and gas altogether. If we do that, we will see prices higher than they need to be. A transition is to a more diverse range of supplies is not a bad thing in itself. But if we ban alternatives, if we ban oil and gas, then we will see prices skyrocket and we'll see ordinary people suffer. I don't think Zach Goldsmith is right in saying we're not providing leadership. If we copy people like the United States and the EU, they just want to shovel more and more subsidies into various technologies. That won't actually yield the results that they desire because, it's competition, it's consumer choice that will reveal the technologies of the future that can actually get emissions down. So we shouldn't be copying those countries. We should be doing an approach based on competition and choice. And I think hopefully the government's moving towards that.
Donnachadh, last word to you, and then we have to wrap up.
Yeah, the idea that actually pouring billions into new fossil fuels on the offshore of Britain will reduce costs in Britain is a lie, which would have to nationalise the oil companies to bring down prices. Green energy, onshore wind, insulation reduces people's bills, and this guy is funded by American oil billionaires. No wonder he's on GB News promoting oil and gas. It's absolutely outrageous.
Hang on, Donnachadh, are you saying that Harry does not believe what he is saying? Because that's dangerous territory there.
I'm actually saying that he will not reveal who his American oil billionaire funders are. And it's time that Britain stood up to these secret think tanks that are funded by...
Well, hang on, Donnachadh. Donnachadh, we have to wrap up, but I would just remind you that it was Keir Starmer who was getting in hot water with the trade unions over oil and gas jobs. The industry was saying, well, hang on, all of these jobs are going to go if you stop new exploration of oil and gas. And I would just say, just as a final point, even if we had zero carbon emissions in this country, unfortunately, it would have absolutely no impact on the global temperature because of other countries and their industries. But anyway, on that note, thank you very much indeed, all of you, for joining me. Sorry I didn't get a chance to come back to you, Jim, but we'll speak again, I'm sure. Thank you very much.